On today's show, we recap the Leafs' loss to the Kings and whether or not this is a game to be worried about. And was 4 games enough for Bruins Charlie McAvoy? We'll get into all that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. What's going on, Dave? Leafs 4-1 loss to the LA Kings in what was an absolute snooze fest. Just one of the worst Leaf games I've seen in a long while.
Yeah, it truly has been. It's like they're due for one of those every once in a while. One of those, and it's always at home. It's always at home for some reason. So like, it's funny because my brother was at the game. He sent the picture, and I said, "Is that the reason why they're losing?" He's like, "No." Like,
well, if you were there, they would rally back and went to overtime.
Yeah, if I was there, it would have been an overtime.
It's probably still be there right now if you were there. But
probably.
Yeah, no, it just wasn't a good game overall. Like I don't know, the ice was bad right from the get-go. It was just sloppy. People were falling all over the place. It was very disjointed, I thought. Like they couldn't complete a pass. Their special teams were a mess. You know, the puck took a couple of bounces on them, no energy, no moving their feet really. Just not a good game all around from Toronto. That said, like I think you got to give some credit to the LA Kings who played a pretty good game. Like they were suffocating, and Toronto wasn't ready to fight through that. They weren't ready to, play and combat the speed of the LA Kings, and they got exposed tonight. That's what happens. You're not willing to adjust and play the way that you need to against an opponent like that. That's going to happen. Now, again, these games are going to happen every now and then, and coming off a long road trip, it's more likely to happen. But either way, just still not a good night for Toronto overall.
No, like every time Toronto got the puck, there was a Kings player right on top of them.
Yeah.
Just when they thought they had open space, nope, Kings did a good job boxing out. It was just effort. Really, like, yes, the Leafs did not execute a lot, but the Kings' effort from start to finish was apparent. They were, anytime they could get an open chance, they were right there. The Leafs just looked disinterested.
Yeah, very disinterested, disjointed, whatever word you want to use. And like this always happens in Toronto too. Like I've spoken to players, former players and NHLers, and like they do get a little more of a pep in their step when they come to Toronto because they typically have a lot of friends and family in attendance, right? And they want to play a little bit better for them. Quentin Byfield was one of the best players in tonight's game. It was reported that he had like 50 friends and family in attendance tonight, including his dad, who somehow got tickets up into the Leafs alumni box. Not sure why they allowed that to happen, but anyways, it did. Hopefully there was no cheering in the press box or in the alumni box when it came to him getting a couple of points. But, Trevor Moore had a couple of good opportunities as well, had a nice assist, tonight. So it just seems like teams always bring a little bit extra when they play Toronto. So when you got a team who's bringing extra, like taking on the Leaf squad who just, playing very lackadaisical and really asleep at the wheel for 55 of the 60 minutes of this game, that's kind of what you're going to get. Like that's the type of performance. I don't know what's up with Mitch Marner though, Dave, because this is another night where he just has been invisible and inexistent. And it's now been pretty well the whole month of October where, he's been, the 4th, 5th, 6th best player on the Leafs, where typically he's up there as a 1A, 1B to Austin Matthews.
Yeah. If you want to figure out why the Leafs are struggling, and you talk about the 5-on-5 numbers in the last episode, this is supposed to be your points guy. This is the guy that's supposed to be your offensive creator, get guys going, get Austin Matthews going a little bit here. He's not doing that. Like, there was one play in this game where I think the Leafs won the faceoff. He gets the puck, goes out to the slot, and he loses the puck, falls down. Kings are they're threatening the other way on odd man rush.
Yeah.
Like, where is the conviction with the puck for Mitch Marner? Where's the confidence to make plays that only Mitch Marner can make?
That's the word. That's the word. The word is confidence, and it's not there right now for whatever reason. And look, he's notoriously a slow starter. Like, I think Dave Poulin was pointing it out. We've talked about this before on the show as well, where his October numbers haven't always been great. And it typically, once the calendar flips to November, he starts to turn it on. And hopefully that is the case, and he can leave this October sadness in October and start getting it going, Tuesday night or Thursday night in Boston. But not a great night from Mitch Martin. Really not a good night from anybody. I am curious though to get your thoughts on Joe Woll's game tonight. Came in, allowed 21 or allowed 4 goals on 25 shots. Ended up giving up 4 goals tonight, the most that he's given up all season long. What'd you make of Joe Woll? And do you think that he deserves another start in Boston, or is it going to go right back to Sammy?
Well, I mean, if you're and I really got annoyed with some of the comments on like the prior shows where they figure we thought the Leafs were going to be able to win with this type of performance each and every game. We did say that Joe Woll can't do this forever. Like, the first goal of the game was not his fault. Literally not his fault. He was preparing for a weak backhander on net, only for it to go off Giordano's stick and into the top corner. Just you could not have pictured a flukier goal to happen. Congrats to the Kings player who scored his first NHL goal. You'll remember
Andreas Englund. Of course, 89 games into his career through the course of 6 seasons, multiple teams, and it's against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He scores his first goal because, well, that's hockey, and that's just how things work here in Toronto.
Yeah. So, like, was Joe, Joseph Woll, crisp with his play? No. Was the reason we Leafs lost his fault? No. Do I think he deserves the next start? I mean, I think they're probably going to go through rotation here. I think you're going to give Samsonov the next game and see whichever of the two is better, and you give them the Saturday night game.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, like, you're going into Boston, and like Joe Woll has ties there, right? Went to Boston College. He'll have friends and family who might want to come and see the game. But again, like, I don't know, Sheldon Keefe, that's a decision. Who gives him the best chance to win? Is it going to be Joseph Woll? Is it going to be Ilya Samsonov? Right? You can't just sit there and say, well, Joe's got friends coming to the game, so we're going to go with Joe. Like, no, you got to pick who you believe will give you the best chance to win. And obviously, we don't know the answer to that. It could be Woll, like he's been the better goaltender, this season. And again, it's not like tonight was all on Joe Woll. Even I think the 4th goal was just like kind of a fluky goal, goes off the back of the boards and it bounces to Kopitar, just kind of pokes it through the crease. And lo and behold, you got a Kempe waiting back door for an easy tap in. It's like just a couple of fluky things. This was Halloween night. There was a bunch of weird stuff happening on that ice surface tonight. I will be curious to see how it goes. If it wasn't Boston, I think I'd agree with you, and I would probably roll with Samsonov. But because it is Boston, there's some ties there with. I think it's possible we see Joe Woll get another game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do go to Samsonov. But this just goes to show, like, we were pumping the brakes a little bit. Like, I know that there was a lot of the comments, a lot of the tweets out there, Leafs Nation, Joe Woll's the starter. He's the guy. He's the better goalie. There's no controversy. It's settled. Mm-hmm. And we were pumping the brakes. Like, well, let's wait a second. We've been here before. Remember Jack Campbell? He looked pretty good for a couple of months before absolutely nosediving. Let's give him some more games before we really anoint this guy the starter and take Samsonov out of the equation. Samsonov was good last year and could very well get back to being that guy. And maybe they could both be good together. Maybe they could both be great together. But this reasons, nights like tonight are why it's like, okay, maybe he's not Carey Price. Not that Carey Price never gave up 4 goals, but, these nights are going to happen. And, we'll see what ends up happening going forward. All right, let's take a quick break here, Dave. We'll come back. We'll get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we'll also give our thoughts on the Charlie McAvoy suspension that came down yesterday. Nasty hit on OEL the other night in the Bruins Panthers game. We'll tell you how many games he got and if we think it was enough. I will get to all that and more. But first, Dave, tell the good folks about one of today's show sponsors.
Yep. Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match assessments and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employees find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to appear to your job than candidates who only see it in search, according to U.S. Indeed data. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. So join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. So visit Indeed.com/locked-on to start hiring now. That is Indeed.com/locked-on.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with my co-host Dave Morassutti. We're reacting to a Leafs 4-1 loss to the LA Kings. And for the everydayers out there, we appreciate you checking back in for today's show. If you're new to the podcast, you're just stumbling upon us now, we appreciate you for checking us out as well. Just know that we do have new content coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. You can find our podcast wherever you find your audio pods, and you can also catch the video format of this show up on YouTube. Search Locked On Leafs. Hit subscribe. Also hit the little notification bell so you know exactly when new episodes are dropping. And hey, if you enjoy it, leave a like, leave us a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on tonight's game. How did you think the Maple Leafs fared? How should the goaltending situation go down this weekend? Should it be Woll in Boston, or should they roll back with Samsonov? Curious to get your thoughts on it, Leafs Nation. So those who do, check in on a daily basis with the Locked On Leafs podcast will know that after every loss, we do the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's get right to it, Dave. We talked a lot of smack so far about tonight. What was something that was good at the very least?
Well, I mean, it almost didn't happen, but William Nylander did get a point. Some are calling it a petty or pity point from the NHL. But he does now have
a phantom assist.
Well, apparently it was like he like part of the shot went off his stick, and then Marner took it.
Since when does that count as a point?
I don't know.
Never. I thought you had to establish possession, unless it's a goal. You basically have to have possession or redirect a puck. I think you're right. This is one where it was just it was in Toronto, and the scorekeepers up there were like, yeah, it touched him. It kind of nicked him.
It might pass the litmus, the smell test a little bit here, but
yeah. So he gets the point. He gets the point. Sets the new franchise record. 9 straight games with a point to begin the season.
Yeah, you know who's probably upset? Who could potentially be upset about that? Frank Mahovlich, Landon McDonald, and John Anderson, who are now second on the Leafs all-time list.
Yeah, what losers? Losers, second place. Wow. I think they'll be okay with it.
I think so. So yeah, nice little moment there for Nylander. Other than that, really couldn't find much good in this game. Not really.
No, I did think Nylander though, like he stood out a couple of times. He did
Not
make a couple of plays, to set up some guys or get off a couple of shots himself. Some real nice, stick work. He made that one move to get around Mikey Anderson and make a good, opportunity in tight. But unfortunately, yeah, not much else from a whole lot of people. I think I saw the Leafs had total 3 high danger chances according to Sport Logic. So, yeah, not the best, as Louis Domingue would say. I'll say this though. I'll say this, and you let me know where are you on this one. I liked what Max Domi was doing at the end there. I liked
yeah.
it. The penalty he took, and then even at the end of the game when he took the second one, like both of those penalties, I thought was Max Domi. I mean the one at the end there where he's just kind of slashing and doing whatever to was it Fiala, the one on the end, the last one
It
there.
was Fiala or Moore, one of those two.
Yeah, I think it was Fiala. Yeah, it was. That one, the game was a little bit out of reach at that point. It was already 4-1. It was over. But still, I like the fact that he had energy, he had passion, and he knew he was trying to give his team a spark. If not for this game, then to set a tone for the next game, right? So I think that I liked what was going on with the Max Domi, but little too late, I suppose. But also credit to LA for knowing, like the first time around, for knowing, like, yeah, I'm not gonna fight you. Like, sure, grab my collar. I don't care. I'm not gonna fight you and allow the Leafs to get some energy in the building and come back and maybe like good for LA for not baiting. But I do like Max Domi at least knowing, hey, I got to do something here. The puck's not working for me tonight. Maybe my fists can do something, but LA wasn't having it, unfortunately. Bad. What was bad tonight for you, Dave?
I think like Sheldon Keefe just
Everything?
not, yeah, I mean, well, everything, but like Sheldon Keefe just not able to get these guys going. Like you're back from a road trip.
Yeah. It was well,
He's
so it is an interesting conversation. Like, do you think that's on the coach or the person or the players
well, the
to
players
get
have to come out and play, but the coach also needs to push the right buttons in a lot of ways, right? He starts putting lines in a blender, but it's like to what end, right? At some point, Nylander's playing with Matthews and Marner. Then you got Nyes playing on the fourth line. It's just like what's the plan here? And like this isn't the first time that something like this has happened. As a coach, you have to find a way to game plan and get into these guys' heads that look, we don't get off to a good start here, we're done. Like this game is going to be over quicker than it begins. And that's what happened in this game. The Leafs were shell shocked right off the beginning. And like, yeah, you can put a lot of that on the players. I'm not giving the players a pass. I'm not putting this all on Sheldon Keefe, but it's happening way too often for the Sheldon Keefe Leafs for this to happen.
Yeah. It was a thing earlier in the year. And then this road trip, they started to actually play some games, and I think there were like 4 of the last 5 games on that road trip, they had scored the opening goal. But then tonight, obviously, they give up the first goal, then they're down 2-0, 3-0, and then the game was pretty much out of reach at that point. They scored one late, but then quick response back for LA. Yeah, like obviously there's some fault there for the coach. Certainly, you come off a road trip, you got to find a way. Okay, how can I get these guys motivated? How can I get them going? And when it takes until the midway mark of the third period for that team to finally get going, yes, there's very clearly, a message that isn't getting through there. Apparently, again, I'm not in the room though. Like maybe Sheldon is doing all he can. He is saying those things, and it's going in one ear and out the other of the players. And if that's the case, if the message is stale, I don't know. That's something that's got to get fixed. He's got to figure out a way to get the message through on nights like that. But this could have just been an off night. Like they have been playing better as of late. I think we can all acknowledge. But you come home off a long road trip. As Jeff O'Neill alluded to many times throughout the broadcast, that's a tough road trip. And sometimes your first night back is just kind of a fog. And before you know it, the game's out of hand. And there's nothing you could do. You find a little bit of wind in the third period, but often it's too little too late. And that's kind of what happened tonight. For me, like, at the special teams was not good. Also, first few power plays were just brutal. Like they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get set up. Anytime they broke the puck in, it was getting, the play was getting sent back the other way, and they were falling everywhere. A couple of times they almost gave up some short-handed opportunities. It just nothing was working, and then they eventually made the switch. Sheldon Keefe did make a change, going from Klingberg, put Morgan Riley back up on the top unit, and did result in a goal. So, maybe we'll see Morgan Riley continue with the top unit, or maybe it was just a one-game thing. That'll be something to keep an eye on as the season goes along. Obviously, will they stick to Klingberg, or can they get Riley back up there? But outside of that, tough power plays, and then even the penalty kill. They gave up another penalty, a power play goal tonight. But like the final couple of penalties that they were trying to kill off, I felt they weren't moving their feet. They were just they gave so much time and space to LA, and it's not even perimeter. Like they were working themselves in towards the goal and inside. Like it wasn't even just keeping everything to the outside. It was giving up some decent chances on the power play. They ended up with 8 high danger chances on the power play tonight. The LA Kings did. So yeah, just overall, that 5-on-5, that on special teams, just not a good night for the Maple Leafs.
No, not good at all. And yeah, probably like the ugly for me in this game was just the newcomers. Other than Domi, nobody was really doing anything, right? Like,
Well, Domi didn't really do anything until the last 5 minutes either, and what he did was take penalties. But
yeah, like this is where I had my issues with Sheldon Keefe. He hasn't found ways to get these guys to be contributors. These guys weren't brought in to be, measly, just, throw them out there and get some shifts out of them. These guys were supposed to be contributors.
Well,
helping,
who?
like Bertuzzi, Domi, Klingberg.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Reeves, this guy can't play 82 games. Like if he plays 82 games, this is going to be a problem. Right?
Where have you heard that take before, Dave?
Oh, I know. I said this guy can't be in the lineup 82 games. That fourth line has nothing going for them.
Dude, it was abysmal tonight. Abysmal. They had an expected goals of 0. 0 expected goals for, and it was just disgusting. What was going on? They were on the ice for a goal against. Like my ugly was the fourth line. So I'm ready to roll if that's what we're going to talk about, because I think there needs to be some change here. Ryan Reeves, what did he contribute tonight exactly? Like besides that Halloween video that he put out for everybody this morning to have a good laugh at, what did he contribute to on the ice? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. 8 minutes and 7 seconds, laid just 2 hits, neither of which being thundering or noteworthy at any point. On the ice for a goal against, generated 0 scoring chances in the 8 minutes he was out there. 0 scoring chances. I mean, there wasn't anything happening. They spent a lot of their time in their own end chasing around the puck. And like a game like tonight, when you're down 2-0, 3-0 early, in a game where you're coming back from a road trip, but you notice that the team is out of it, you're getting booed off the ice at the end of the second period. You would think that is the time for Ryan Reeves to do something to generate, get the boys going, whether it's going out there and throwing a big hit or going out there and forcing someone to drop the gloves. Like that's what you brought Ryan Reeves in to do, to be the energy guy. So when you're down and you're in a game like this and he's not doing that and he's giving up a goal, what the hell is this guy doing in the lineup? Legitimately, why is he in the lineup on a night like tonight if he's not willing to do anything or do the things that he's brought in here to do?
Is he being thrown onto the ice, try to lay a hit on one of the Kings' top guys, get them under their skin? Not doing that either. Force
the Kings to come at you by going out and laying a hit. Like that's what you need to do, right? Like it was very clear when Domi's challenging 2 different guys to fights and neither were willing to do anything. It was very clear at that point that LA was not looking to get into any fisticuffs. But if you go and you lay a questionable hit or you hit one of their stars, now they're forced to respond. And now that's how you get that fight. But he wasn't willing to do anything.
Like you notice there was like one clip that I saw. There was one part where like Austin Matthews skating without the puck, and he guys gets drilled in the middle of the zone, no puck, and it made it look incidental, right? Made it look a little accidental, like a seamless non, looking to hit him. He was just like collided. But I know what these guys try to do. This is how you get under the star's skin. Oh, whoops, my bad. Ozzy Kopitar, I just kind of put my foot under Domi's skate and he fell. Ooh, he must be terrible at skating. Like, these are little things these guys do to poke the bear, to get under your skin. And at least had no pushback. There was literally no pushback. And that, I thought guys were brought in. That's not to this team. And I guess the mucus was dry because there was zero snot.
Yeah, which is.
And I apologize for the visual. I also don't apologize for the visual. Blame Scratch Living for that.
Yeah, no, not a good guy, not a good night. Quite the ugly performance from um, a lot of different people. Like, real, just the compete level overall was very subpar and poor. Team was just very disjointed. Weren't completing passes, weren't winning puck battles, couldn't stay on their feet. Like, the LA was just on top of them, and they weren't willing to do anything to get around it, and weren't able to generate any scoring chances. And they allowed a lot on them. Right, Joe Wall was busy. He allowed 4 goals, but he had a couple of decent saves as well. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have one of those games every now and then, right? Just can't have them pile up game after game. So they're gonna have to come back and play a lot better against the Boston Bruins to allow us to forget about this performance against LA. Speaking of the Boston Bruins, Dave, let's take a break because there was some big news in Bruins land, which will impact the game Thursday night when the Leafs head over there. We'll tell you about that on the other side. But first, I got something to tell you guys. We got our friends of the show over at Sleeper want you to know that a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Matthews could score 50 goals. The Leafs could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could win big playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. It's the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Matthews or Nylander, McDavid, Crosby, whoever will record more or less in their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. So, for example, you're looking at a Nylander riding a 9-game point streak. If his assist mark or his points mark is at half a point, there's a good chance he could stretch that thing to 10 because he's been scoring in every single game. You can make that one of your selections over on Sleeper. Because to win a 100 times your bet, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 different player stats. You heard me, Leaf fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. We can put this game behind us. Dave, we'll put this behind us. It's over. It was bad. It was not good. One of the worst regular season performances out of the Leafs that we've seen in a while. Kind of this is what we in the biz like to call a Jalen Hurts game, right? You take a deuce, you flush it, you move on. I think the Maple Leafs will do that and move on to Boston. Speaking of Boston, some very important news came down that will have some impact in this game. Charlie McAvoy will not be able to play in that game. He's been suspended 4 games for his hit on Oliver Ekman-Larsson in the Panthers and Bruins game the other night. We're showing you the hit here up on YouTube if you're watching. Boom, right there you see Charlie McAvoy get up on OEL, hits him high, and he ends up with a 4-game suspension. Dave, what were your thoughts on that hit? Did the Department of Player Safety get it right? Did they give him too much? Did they give him too less? What was your thoughts on the verdict?
Well, you always have, because the issue is that too many times they put the slow motion of the hit and make it, sometimes it makes it worse than it is. But real time and slow motion, I hated the hit that much more watching both side by side, because one, OEL is unsuspecting of the hit. He doesn't know a guy's coming to clock him in the head, so he can't protect himself. And you see his reaction to the play. Luckily, he was conscious. I know he had to go to the room, but luckily it could have been a lot worse. But what I hated the most about it was a few seconds after he passed the puck. There
Yeah.
is no reason for this hit to happen. So 4 games, I think, had to have been the minimum, because sometimes they throw out 2 games and it's just like 2 games. Like
Yeah. No.
OEL could have a concussion and be out longer than that, right? For a blindside hit. These are the hits the NHL needs to get out of the game.
Yeah. We could take this take the
Yeah, we'll
video
take
down
the
now. But yeah, Charlie McAvoy, like I actually think that it probably should have been more. I personally believe so. Like that was so blatantly predatory. He charges in multiple steps, just literally eyeing this guy, just blinders on, and he's staring directly at him the whole time. The puck is nowhere near him. It was late. It was east west, direct to the head. He moved his elbow up and shoulder up to make sure he made contact up high. What do you think is going to happen when you do that? And I think he had time to bail out on that hit. There was absolutely no reason to follow through on that hit when you look at where the puck was. So I think that was like one of the more egregious hits that we've seen. It's something that was completely like, sometimes you're right, the game is too fast and some of these hits happen and it's like, well, sometimes you don't have enough time to adjust and move your body and contort your body to avoid it. This is not one of those cases. This was very avoidable, and McAvoy made the clear decision. Nope, I'm making this hit, whether I need to or not. And for that reason, I think there should have been more than 4 games. I mean, I am not surprised that it was only 4, because I think if you go any more than that, then you have to get an independent arbitrator to get into it, like up to like 6 games. So maybe that's the reason why they only gave him 4. But man, I don't know. I would have liked to see maybe 6 or 7 for a hit like that. I don't think he is a repeat offender, which probably helped him in this case, to only get the 4 games, but not a good hit, man. Not a good
Well,
hit.
that's the thing here, right? Is, does he have a record? Does he have, this is what always goes into decisions with these. What does the CBA kind of dictate this type of hit lead to what type of suspension, right? Is it, and history, as I said, comes into play. What happened to the player too kind of also plays a factor as well. So like if he got less than 4 games, I would have said like there are, I don't know what they're thinking from that standpoint, but yeah, 4 games had to have been the minimum. I could have, yeah, as you said, I heard some people say could have been at least 6 games. You have to send a message. 4 games says send a message, but at times a play like this, you got to really send a message considering the way the hit went about.
Yeah. Well, if the hockey gods want to send a message to Boston and make them go 0-4 in these 4 games without McAvoy, I think maybe that would then, be worthy. And then it's like, yeah, Charlie, you can't be missing games like that, pal. And obviously, Toronto is taking on Boston in one of those games as well. So that would inherently give Toronto 2 points when they go into Boston. But yeah, so that was one of the big newsy items around the league today. And one other thing, quickly, it sounds like the Flames hitting the pause button on contract negotiations with Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin. What I like about this is maybe the Leafs could get back into the Noah Hannafin sweepstakes. We've seen Brad Treliving trade for Hannafin once before. Perhaps he could do it again. And I think he's exactly what Toronto would welcome to this blue line.
I think, and what I know that Flames fans are probably peeved. They should be kind of happy that management's not just going to be like, yeah, we're going to throw contracts to these guys. There's clearly something not right going on with the Flames right now, and they gotta they got to decide if this core is willing to be invested in, right? So
Yeah.
the other problem here
Dude.
too, though, is
They just pooched it so bad with Goudreau not coming back and then opting to move out Kachuk. They pooched it so bad over there.
yeah,
Good
and
talent. There's a lot of good talent on that roster.
like
And talent that I'm sure if they did decide to rebuild, tear it down, do whatever, that they probably could get some decent assets in return. Like you're gonna have to pay a pretty penny to get Lindholm and Hannafin, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. I think they're like 2-5, 2-5-1, I think, on the year to start. No one is scoring for that team. Yeah, it's a tough spot for the Flames. Tough spot for them.
yeah. I think the Flames are in a tough spot, and I think you're going to see the vultures starting to circle them.
Well, I hope Brad is one of those vultures.
Well,
What would you give up for Hannafin?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I have to look into what deals like that in the past have looked like. But if you're the Flames, they're gonna ask for a minimum first round pick, a couple of prospects.
Keep in mind he's a pending UFA though. Like he's
gonna get what did Horvat get when the Islanders made that trade? They got
a first round pick and Beauvillier was a cap dump.
Yeah, to make but you're gonna need that, and the Leafs are gonna need someone to take salary. Maybe they can throw John Klingberg the other way.
maybe they could.
They're gonna have
like a B prospect. Yeah, so it's like a first round pick, a B prospect, and then Vancouver had to take money on as well to get that. So, I don't know. Maybe they could get something done there, but that would be a name. Like if the Flames are hitting pause and then things still go south and they say, all right, fire sale, I'd be calling on Hannafin. I'd be calling on Zadorov as well. One of those two would be nice to bring into Toronto.
Could be nice too.
Both could be nice.
Let's go. Let's use this blue line needs to be it's not one guy that's gonna fix all this.
Have you seen what Nick Robertson's doing down in the Marlies? Think he might be raising his stock a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying that Nick Roberts is going to get Hannafin 1-for-1, but what I am saying is maybe there's some interest around the league for a guy who's scoring goals at the rate he is. And for a team who's not scoring goals, he's only 21. I think there could be some interest there if there's some plus around that, prospect pick, that type of stuff. It could happen, right? There it is. Klingberg, Nick Robertson, a first round pick for Hannafin.
Flames fans are going to get so mad hearing that.
Well, whatever is what it is. We'll see what happens. I'm not expecting that to occur. Just would be fun. All right, man. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Go ahead, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below your thoughts on tonight's game, and we'll be back with another episode for y'all tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.